Kenya has overpaid its debt. We do not owe anybody anything. We have overpaid our debt by more than 1 trillion to 2 trillion shillings.
The Senator of Busia County, Okiya Omtatah, is our guest today. Good morning, Senator.
Morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Opportunity.
Umezoea kuitwa mheshimiwa Senator?
Anyway, Jina belongs to those who call. A name does not belong to you. You don't need a name for yourself. It's the people who need a name for you.
Really?
So whichever way they choose to define you, that's up to them.
It's only that now you
change who I am.
You need a bigger car, security, all those things.
maybe not, but I drive a Demio. Even you have come in a Demio out here.
Where is your security?
A car is a question of a system of levers to get you from point A to point B. A bicycle can do it. Anything can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're driving a small car?
Yeah, it's good on the pocket.
No, he's driving a car. The car happens to be economical, and in terms of size, it happens to be small.
Yes.
But he's driving a car.
And it transports me.
From point A
to B.
Yes.
And it's slightly better than a motorcycle because when it rains, it doesn't fall.
All right, Senator, people have known you to be the mtetezi of everybody. The person who raises issues on behalf of Kenyans.
And by the way, before you would leave the size of a car, when the Pope came here, and I'm Catholic, when the Pope came, what kind of car did he drive? From the airport to...
What has he driven in actually? I don't know, tell us.
A Honda Civic.
It was a Honda Civic, eh?
Yeah.
This is the point where now I'm feeling there's something holy about that car.
You're going to look for a Honda Civic.
And me, I think I'm going to buy a Honda Civic. Blessings mingi.
Impartation of holiness.
Yes. So that's how things are.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
City has the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Malawi. Do not use an axe to do embroidery.
Do not use an axe to do embroidery. Senator, what do you understand from this proverb? What's your interpretation?
I think it just says do things the way they're supposed to be done. And if I would go to St. Thomas Aquinas, who is one of the fellows I read a lot, in his principle of completeness, he says, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing well. Otherwise, leave it alone. Yeah.
Okay, he's put it
something is worth doing.
Do it well.
Do it well.
Yes.
Bas. Very, very important. Senator, we know you as a very litigious person. Every time there was an issue that you felt this one, there's something wrong, you went to court and you raised it. And in many cases, courts agreed with you. In some cases, courts did not agree with you.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Right? And that's how it should be.
But at the end of the day, whichever way it goes,
you raise an
the law
issue.
is clarified.
Very good.
Yeah, jurisprudence is developed.
This time, you have gone to court about the Finance Bill 2023.
Yes.
Okay. You're a legislator.
Yes.
Laws are made in Parliament.
Yes.
Who are you taking to court?
1 to 2 things. First of all, given the mutilation of the Constitution by the Uhuru administration, the Finance Bill does not go to the Senate. When Neko Eturu was the chair, was the speaker in the Senate, he had set very high standards, and the executive decided to lock the Senate out of the budget process. Something I'm again litigating to get the Senate to be involved, because what you get is supposed to be an act of Parliament. And the Constitution defines Parliament as made of the Senate and the National Assembly. There's no act of the National Assembly. So if one house doesn't consider it, it's not an act of Parliament. It's basic, you see, and there are requirements for that. So it doesn't come to the Senate, so I'll not have any opportunity in the House as things stand today.
Yeah.
Unless my petition succeeds. There's an earlier petition I filed in December that the finance bill must come to the Senate. It has not been determined. So
that's a pending one.
It's a pending one, and I cannot therefore say that I'm going to wait for the finance bill in the Senate.
Yeah.
In the National Assembly, there was a call for submission of memoranda,
Yep.
I submitted. I did not ignore it. But I'm also a member of the House, so to speak, of the Parliament. And the discussion there. People talk. And the majority side is locked. It's in a chokehold. They are just robots. They have no mind of their own. They have lost the autonomy from the executive. Like they are like mashed potatoes. So there's no point expecting anything from that house.
Okay, so essentially, because you saw this,
Yeah.
that if I can just open up a little bit of what you've said,
Yeah.
is that from the National Assembly, in terms of debating this, in terms of
Interrogating further.
the issues, nothing substantial was going to come out of it. So if you did not go to court and at least ask for some of these things to be opened up, we were going to see this thing just go through and die.
Yeah, there was an element of that. And the issue I'm also engaging out of, when you look at the structure of our constitution, it's very clear that the power to tax is in the National Assembly. The executive is supposed to propose, and then the National Assembly determines. As matters start, it's supposed to be in Parliament anyway, but the way as it stands today, it should be in the National Assembly, because of what Uhuru did. So, unfortunately, what is happening is that the executive is trying to tax. So the tax is coming from outside Parliament. It's not a proposal. When the president said, "Dare you vote against it?" You see, he's not requesting for money. He has made up his mind, and he's looking for a rubber stamp. So he wants the National Assembly to rubber stamp his budget. Is a finance act bill, which means it's not the National Assembly which is taxing. And the power to tax, although the national government is allowed to tax, the power to tax is with the National Assembly. That's why they say that the national government may impose taxes as provided for in legislation.
Yep.
And that legislation is the finance bill right now.
And it comes from the National Assembly. So as things stand right now, Senator, the National Assembly has all the powers behind it. The
constitutional power,
and even other statutes that say you have the power to determine how people are taxed.
Yes.
But then what's the problem that you're saying? Are you saying that the National Assembly does not recognize its power?
It's a bowl of mashed potatoes waiting to be eaten. You saw the president talk the way he talked. If he was dealing with an independent institution, he wouldn't talk like that. He would have requested them that kindly, I've given you a proposal, please don't consider it, don't throw it out. But he said, dare you throw it out? I'll be watching who will vote against it.
Why?
Now, because what has happened is that the political institutions in this country are personality cults. And that's why I'm not just saying, even if you look at the opposition side, a lot of what their MPs end up doing in Parliament is driven from outside Parliament by their leaders. When you look at the government side, it's the same. So that autonomy of the House, that the House now becomes an institution with the power to check, independent of all other forces, but with the power to check the government of the day, is something we don't have in our structures. You have seen that some of the issues that have come, which I'm again prepared to challenge, you have seen the president write letters to the speaker saying, in the next year, I want to see this debated. The president has got no capacity to do that. He can only introduce a bill through the Attorney General. Or he waits for a bill to be debated, then he can reject it with this memorandum. Saying why he's rejecting it. But when he says, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see that, where does he stand in the Constitution? He's trying to run this country like he's the law. Like his word is the law. And that's basically what we are saying it should not be allowed to do. And let me tell you, liberty is not lost by coup d'etats only. Liberty is sometimes lost by innocuous clauses in the Constitution or in the acts of people. Like right now in the bill we have, there's something very, very small that is not being noticed by anybody. There's iron ore. We have iron ore in Taita Taveta and many places, and even in Busia, where I come from. All those Samia hills is iron ore. And even before colonialism, there used to be smelting of hose and whatever used to be made in Samia, those areas, where you can go and still see the smelting point that were being done before the white man came here. Now that iron ore is still there, and the iron ore in Samia is a magnetic type, very high quality. Now, I have been trying to campaign and see how do we get these resources out of the ground to benefit the people of Busia and the people of Kenya. Now, there's a tax that has been slammed. They are saying for every ton of iron ore exported, you will pay $175. It is hidden somewhere in the finance bill. Now, the international market, if you check even if you Google right now, for iron ore, is $108. So this tax of 175 means you don't want iron ore.
Sure. You just slowly. On the world market, the $108 is the cost of iron ore per
ton.
Per ton.
Yes.
$108.
$108.
Okay.
The proposed tax.
The proposed tax in this country, if you're exporting,
Yes.
is $175.
$175.
Don't export iron ore.
So they're saying don't export.
Yep.
And why? If you look at it, if you are driving to Mombasa, there's around Mariakani. It's a big plant that has been put there by Devki. So smelting for steel plant has been put there by Devki.
Yes.
So you can basically see that they're trying to lock this iron ore for Devki to create a monopoly. But then the tragedy is that there's a non-magnetic and magnetic iron ore. The Devki plant can only do non-magnetic.
So omtatah can also open his own plant.
But where?
What stops you from opening
Where
a
do I open that?
In the Samia
The issue
hills.
there should be open competition. Let people get value for their iron ore.
I hear what you're saying, Mheshimiwa.
Let people get value for their iron ore. And it's not,
why
I'm
must
looking
we
at-
export the raw material?
First of all, it's a property of the people, whoever have invested in it. Okay? So, if there's no technology for adding value that can be exported, if you want to build local industry, come up with the formula for a local industry that is open to competition. You see what I've done with macadamia in Meru. You see what I've done with the korosho in the coast. You'll get a bin of korosho is about 10 shillings. One seed of korosho. Well, that thing goes for about 100 and there's about 10 seeds inside. It's about 100 shillings. But you can look at the korosho industry. Because they locked it from being from an export market, they created local monopolies who then exploit the farmer. The farmer has got no option where to sell. In fact, there's a bill now by the governor for Kirinyaga, for the senator for Kirinyaga, trying to get that law reversed so that people can be free to export and benefit from the benefits of competition. They're saying they are locking this in for the local industry, but then they create monopolies that do what? That oppress people.
Is it that there are other interventions that are creating these monopolies? Because, Mheshimiwa, for a long time, we've been talking about how Kenya and African countries have just been selling raw material, no value addition, and therefore not earning optimum what they should be earning. Now, if there's a move by the government to discourage the exportation of raw material and encourage value addition in the country, what's wrong with that?
Yes, but let it be reasonable. Let it be open to competition.
So that's what I was asking. Are there other interventions that are locking out competition? Is there something in law that blocks Okiya omtatah from setting up an iron ore smelting plant anywhere in this country?
No, I don't know if they are. But one thing that I also realize is that if you went to a place like Busia today, okay, with the kind of power we have, which is largely 11 kVA, can you set up industry? Is there infrastructure for it? There isn't. And in fact, right now, one of the things I'm really fighting for is to have a substation. And from where I come from, you see this power, this is big, the 350 312 volt power lines that come from Uganda to Dandora. Those lines. I'm trying to find that there should be an earth station. There should be a substation in Busia whereby the lines can be dropped to supply power to Bungoma, to Busia, to Siaya, and stuff like that. Otherwise, you just observe the electricity passing over your head.
And you can't
And
High
passing
voltage,
the other way.
it's not helping you. So you can't set up industries.
I can't set up industry.
I want to ask specifically, because you've gone to court about the finance bill. What are you challenging in the finance bill?
I'm challenging it to a finance bill on two aspects,
Right.
two broad aspects. One is the constitutionality of what is being done. The other one is the merit of what is in the bill. So on the constitutionality of the bill, I begin with the issue like when you go to... I've just told you that the finance bill does not go to the Senate.
Yes.
And yet there are very many laws that are proposed to be amended, which were enacted by both the Senate and the National Assembly. So how does one house amend laws that were done by both houses? And laws that affect devolution? Even take something like betting and whatever. The law on betting, first of all, is a devolved function. The national government is left with the policy. They are imposing taxes on betting and stuff. They are amending the Betting Act, which was enacted by the Senate and the National Assembly. So how does one house amend this kind of laws? You have been talking of housing. Housing is devolved. They are engaging in housing, then the Senate is locked out. How does it work? You see. You have seen that trying to amend the law on statutory instruments through the Finance Act. Now, the Statutory Instruments Act, a law, is one that controls the power of the national government to make law or to make regulations or subsidiary legislation. So you'll find that these laws are supposed to expire after 10 years. Because Parliament donates the power to the executive to make regulations and some technical laws of a technical nature, which may not be available to Parliament to do. But then it requires that when they are made, they are brought to Parliament for approval. Then they have a lifespan of 10 years. There's a sunsetting clause. They expire after 10 years. And the executive is required to make a new request to Parliament if they want to continue to make new laws, whatever, to ensure that the power to make law remains with Parliament. Now, there's an innocuous clause deleting that 10-year sunsetting rule so that the executive can do what it wants. You see.
So regulations can actually remain in perpetuity.
In perpetuity.
Right.
So it is whittling down the power of Parliament, removing the capacity of Parliament to oversight the executive. So that's an unconstitutional provision.
Yeah.
You come to property laws, property rights. If you say something like the housing bill, Parliament, the executive is only allowed to tax, not to force people to save. Under Article 40, you are supposed to, you can own property anywhere in Kenya and you can use it the way you want, provided you're not breaching the law. When you go to Article 36, it says you cannot be forced to join an association. So this forced taxation, this forced saving, they're forcing you into a circle. What is it doing? Being told you are going to use your money this way, what does it do? When you come to discrimination, people like teachers, you have people like low-income earners generally, will be forced to pay up to the maximum 3%. Because they have capped it at
2,500.
2,500. So for me, with the kind of salary I'm earning in Parliament now, I'm supposed to pay something like, if it was 3% applied, I should be deducted 18,000 shillings. But they are saying, omtatah, you are going to pay a maximum of 2,500. It's totally unfair. Why don't you apply the 3% across board?
Without a cap?
Without a cap. Why are you capping it? When you cap it, you hurt low-income earners. You see. They are not factoring in issues like those who already have houses, those who are already paying mortgages. Then even in the Employment Act itself, it says you are not allowed to deduct your salary to less than 1/3 of your income. Already people are already on 1/3. So like people are surviving there. Have they done an audit to know when they put this 3%, will it go beyond that?
Sure. Senator, I have to ask, so then what is your prayer then to the court? And it is interesting because when, I guess many people said, finally, okay, Omtatah has gone to court, would he then be the one who would help folks? Because interestingly enough, the sentiment was that maybe coming from the National Assembly, even before the threat came, that there was not much in terms of hope, in terms of what would be done when it came to debating and passing this, or not passing it, whatever the case may be. And then they said, okay, finally, maybe there's something that would be done then at the court. So what is the prayer of the court, even having taken all of these things into consideration?
Well, there is a staggered prayer. It's a very tactical engagement. There's a prayer for the court to intervene with the bill. And there's a prayer with the court, in case that doesn't happen, then the court to quash the act. When it has already been passed. So it's a marathon, not a sprint, what you are engaged in. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring out that is most important in terms of merit of the bill is what percentage is going to debt. It's more than 70%
of the revenue.
Debt. And when you look at this bill, one thing that is hidden from many people is exactly what is happening. What is happening is this. When Kibaki took over from Moi, over a period of about 10 years, he expanded the revenue base, the amount of money collected by the Kenya Revenue Authority, by 1 trillion shillings over a period of about 10 years.
Yeah.
It kept on growing incrementally as they expanded the tax base and all that kind of thing. Uhuru came in. Within his 10 years, he also expanded the tax base by about 1 trillion shillings.
Yep.
Ruto has come in and he wants to expand the tax base by 1 trillion shillings in 1 year. People have not seen that. And that's why the shock is. They usually tell you if you want to cook a frog, you can raise the temperature slowly, you'll cook it.
You will not know.
Yeah. But then you bring the frog will jump
thrown
out.
the frog into the fire.
You'll jump out. So, President Ruto is trying, assuming everything is okay, is trying to expand the revenues raised
Too fast.
by 1 trillion shillings in a year. Mathematically impossible. Now, as you come down, you'll find that still on the housing, we're not discussing, houses have to sit on land. And to me, that's the biggest scam. They have not told where the land is. And this is a scam to steal land from the counties.
The land is in Kenya.
To strip land from the counties. So counties are being told, set aside
Identify land
where we are going to put.
We will come and put houses.
Now, when they put up these houses, the developer will be given that land for free.
Yes.
No taxes. So, public property is transferred to a private investor, whom we have not been told the identity. And look at a classic example of what has happened in Mombasa. There's this thing called Buxton.
Yeah.
The estate is about 12 acres.
14 actually.
Yeah. When they began this thing, you were told all this kind of thing that you are hearing. Shabal was given this land for free. He paid no taxes on it. He promised that when they do the houses, they'll be selling at 1.6 million. Right now, the lawyers are asking for 6 million. He got the land for free. The county lost the land. And the people who are supposed to be in low housing are not getting it. When you listen to Hinga talking, he said the units will be valued at around 50,000 shillings per square meter. Now, if you go to Great Wall out here, you will find that the units are going for about 30,000 shillings a square meter. Great Wall, there was no free land. Taxes were paid. It's a private developer. It's in Nairobi. So why should the government get free land, get free money from this fund, pay no taxes, and give us houses at a much higher price than what our private developer is giving in Nairobi? So this is a Ponzi scheme. This is a scam.
What's the role of Parliament in oversighting this thing? Because, yes, we've been talking about the housing fund and the questions that have been asked. But those questions, the people that we send to our National Assembly and our Senate, such as yourself, we give you the power to ask those questions on our behalf, to oversight and make sure that the right thing is done.
Yes, that is the ideal design of the. But I've told that the root problem is in the way that we have organized our political parties. They are personality cults. They are about an individual, and whatever the individual who comes in, he sponsors, he carries a crowd whom he comes with. He comes with a choir. So he's the conductor, so he has a choir that sings to his tune. So we can expect very little in terms of checking the executive.
So we are the ones who actually have done that. Because
it's a total failure in parliament.
We're the ones who have given this one political leader all that political influence, even over the other people that we send to parliament.
Yes.
Okiya Omtatah is our guest this morning. Your hosts, Eric Latif, C.T. Muga, and Nduoko. Senator, you just reminded us about 20 years ago, or 21, the country's revenue was about 300 billion shillings. Today, it's about 1.8 trillion shillings. But we're having issues even with cash issues. We cannot send money to schools. School heads are saying we could actually send the children back home because we can't feed them. We can't send money to the counties because, as the national government, the National Treasury says, having cash flow issues. Police bosses are saying we actually cannot fuel police vehicles, and we cannot even feed the people who we are holding in our cells. It's a big issue with cash. But a lot of it, as we hear from the government, is going into paying debt. Debt is an issue. Why is it such a big issue?
Yes, because we need to, first of all, it has not been audited. And that's why I'm saying that even at a constitutional level, we need to know what we are paying for. Just like I told you about the issue of exporting iron ore, is a property, somebody has worked on it. So if you are going to restrict that part to export, Article 24 says give the reasons. If you got that finance bill, it doesn't give a reason why they are doing what they are doing. If they were to give a reason, they say we are going to industrialize, we are going to incentivize, have incentives, you have given land, let people come and set up smelters here. We are giving this kind of incentives and whatever, and we are blocking export raw material. Justify it. Yeah. But not just drop a line and you don't justify. So a lot of these things that they are doing, taking property of people without justifying, is there. Now, this taxation, when you take money to pay for this debt, and people have said Kenya, in fact, if you look at the figures, Kenya has overpaid its debt. We do not owe anybody anything. We have overpaid our debt by more than 1 trillion to 2 trillion shillings. So, if you look at the figures in terms of what we have legitimately borrowed and what the government has been paying over the years, when you do a balance sheet, you find that we have overpaid the debt.
So this money that keeps going out, Senator,
when we pay, they don't subtract from what has been borrowed. Those are the things we want. And these are the questions. Someone like Kamau Thuge, Professor Ndungu, you have got Rotich, you have got Ruto, you have got Uhuru. These are the questions they need to answer.